your mother? It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eat teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Bo, Sheil, and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Bo, Sheil, and Zach coming at you with sets and things flapping their wings.
Statistics, they can be like bathing suits. What they, what...
Finish it up. Sometimes you gotta take them off. What the hell?
What they show is revealing, but what they conceal is vital, right? So...
Hello, everybody. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that intro. Maybe that's Bo's, and I should come up with something on my own. Sheil Kapadia here with Zach Berman and Marissa Morris. A 10 a.m. Wednesday, February Birds with Friends. I mean, where else are you getting this Eagles content? Bo is on vacation, so he will not be here today. So we'll certainly, if you have anything you want to say about him, just pretend you're saying something behind someone's back. It'll stay between us. Feel free to let that out there. ZB, how we doing? You got some juice for the morning pod?
Doing great. Excited for the pod. Missed this. It's good to be back. Good to be back on a morning pod. I like this. And I will also give you a lot of credit here. This is by no means meant to be shade at Bo, by no means. But Sheil sent Marissa and me a detailed rundown of the show. So last night I was able to do actual prep work. I enjoyed this. And so, yeah, I appreciate the organization.
We'll see if that makes for a better or a worse show, but we might as well tell. Isn't this what the professionals do? They tell the audience what they're going to talk about before they actually talk about it. So I guess I can go ahead and do that. We're going to start out. We got to talk Doug P. The Eagles Super Bowl winning head coach is back in the NFL. We'll offer our thoughts on that. We've got Jonathan Gannon. It seems like staying with the Eagles. I guess you don't really announce it's like a defensive cord. There you go. Jonathan Gannon is staying with the Eagles, so we'll get to that as well. Then we will talk a little free agency. I know it's early. Everyone's talking draft. You guys are giving your Senior Bowl picks. Everyone just ignores free agency comes before the draft, yet everyone's already talking draft. So I released my top 75 on The Athletic. You can read that. Of course, theathletic.com/birds with friends gets you a discount there. We have a little exercise there, Eagles related, for those free agents. And then segment 3, we're going to talk Super Bowl. I know ZB likes to put a little, late chuga. He's not opposed to a little bit opening up that BetMGM app from time to time. And so, again, I've got my piece on The Athletic. So, Zach, I don't know if you've looked at that or not, or if these are going to be a surprise to you.
Unfortunately, I looked at it this morning, and the reason I say unfortunately is because we have some crossover picks there.
Okay. Well, maybe those will be home runs.
I just want you and Marissa and our audience to know I was not taking it from you there. I did the prep work last night in terms of my picks.
Okay. So we're going to have a little game for that as well. And then we'll finish it out. I also have some notes from your last show that, of course, I have to sprinkle those in. So we'll get to all that. Marissa, how are we doing today? 10 a.m. I feel like you're more of a, afternoon, evening producer. Is this one of the earlier pods you've produced?
Yeah, I'm a little more on Bo's schedule with the nighttime, but I'm traditionally a morning person way back when, so I can do the morning. And Zach logging on here having this pep in his step really boosted my spirits, so I'm ready to go.
He was so excited. He just came before we started recording. You could tell we're getting morning. Z Berman, as the commenters are mentioning here, they said Polar Jam says we're about to have the best Z Berman showing ever. A lot of pressure on Z Berman. All right, let's get to it, Zach. Doug P, we've been waiting. Is this guy going to get hired? He's early in the interview cycle. He's getting some looks. There's 9 openings. We think, all right, it's not a great group of candidates. He's got to get one of these. Then all of a sudden, names start going off the board. Jobs start getting taken. And the Jaguars circle back to Doug P. And now he's going to be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know you wrote about this. What are your impressions of that hire, both from the team and both for Doug P?
I think it's a good fit for Doug, and it could potentially be a good fit for the team. You had a tweet last week when he was hired that I thought summed it up well in terms of things Doug does in terms of things Doug does well and what he must improve. And offensive innovation is going to be key, because just because you were good working with a young quarterback and working with different types of quarterbacks in 2016 and 2017 doesn't necessarily mean that offense and that approach is going to work in 2022. That said, I think working with Trevor Lawrence, Doug has the right temperament for it. I think he'll put together an offense that highlights Trevor Lawrence. I don't want to make a big deal about the media part of it, but I think overall, organizationally, in terms of the spotlight, Doug was a little beaten down by the end. He was ready to take some time off, and Jacksonville, it's not the same pressure cooker. I recall talking to Andy Reid his first year back in Kansas City, and it was night and day, right, compared to what he was used to. And then that's a big part of a head coach's job, whether it's the pressure from the fans, from talk radio, from the media, whatever it might be. It's not the same in Jacksonville. So I think it's a good fit for him. I'm curious to see how the staff comes together. I saw reports that he's bringing in Mike Caldwell, who always had a good reputation when he was here, but obviously doesn't have the coordinator experience that Jim Schwartz had when Doug hired him.
Yeah, I'm a little torn on how this is going to go. And most of that is probably more, I think it's reflective of both, but you look at that organization and they've just been a complete dumpster fire. I mean, 10 years of ownership under Shad Khan, they've won more than 6 games once. Do you know how hard that is to do in like the modern NFL, when if you suck, you're getting a top 5 pick the next year? Like, you should be able to accumulate talent. And to be fair, they've had some good talent there. I mean, Jalen Ramsey, Allen Robinson, Calais Campbell was down there as a free agent signing. And so they've had some players there, but you look at it and it's not like Doug Peterson was their first interview, blew them away, and they said, all right, let's go with Doug Peterson. They interviewed Peterson. Then there's rumors that it's going to Byron Leftwich, which seemed to make a lot of sense because obviously he was deserving of a shot, former Jacksonville Jaguars player. Then there's reports that Leftwich didn't want the job because Trent Baalke, they were not moving on from Trent Baalke as the GM. And so it's, again, the Jaguars just keep finding ways to screw this up, where it's like, just start fresh, hire a new coach with the GM, make sure they're partnered up, make sure they're aligned, and move forward there. And they didn't do that. They were loyal to Trent Baalke for some reason, which cannot.
Is odd. Yes.
Odd. You can't understand. And so, that was odd. And so that kind of led Doug to be back in the picture and get the job. Now, as we've mentioned before, there's a lot of luck with this stuff. I mean, Doug Pederson was not the Eagles' first choice, and he won them a Super Bowl. And so sometimes you do have to get lucky there. But I am sort of concerned about the organizational competence there, from ownership to front office. Now, I know Doug doesn't really want he doesn't want a heavy hand in that. We always had the old joke. I think this was before you came on, Zach, and I can't remember. I think it was the Andre Dillard pick, where Doug was asked after that draft, hey, when Dillard starts to slip a little bit, do you kind of go over to Howie and say, hey, let's go up and get that guy? And his response was, you make a little eye contact. Like he's standing in the corner of the draft room. I lost it when he said that. I mean, I was just dying. I thought that was so funny because it was a very Doug answer. He's very honest about it. He doesn't need to come in and lie and say, yeah, I went over to him and said, I've been scouting this guy. We have to get him. He said, you make a little eye contact there. And so I don't think he wants a heavy hand in that. So from like a Baalke perspective, you're saying, yeah, let's go hire Doug. Sure. I'm going to have all the control with personnel. I have the owner's ear. And so that part concerns me a little bit. And then the other part that concerns me is, pretty underwhelmed with the staff so far. Now let's see how it all comes together. It's not complete, but Mike McCoy as the quarterback's coach. I mean, the guy's I don't think he's coached anywhere in 3 years, right? He's been out of the NFL. He hasn't coached in college. That's the best, you could do there. Rory Seacrest as the defensive line coach. I mean, that one really surprised me.
That was never Doug's strength, putting a staff together.
Right. So,
and you would think having a year away, he'd have his dream team.
That's what I thought. That's what I said. My big takeaway was Doug must have really enjoyed this year off. I mean, he must have been golfing, just hanging out by the pool. Because I don't think, I saw him in Indianapolis, right? He was at that training camp. He went to Bears training camp. So I thought, all right, he's making the rounds. This is smart. Meet some coaches, some lower level. You bring him in, you can give him a promotion. It doesn't seem like that's what he was taking out of those trips or anything else. Mike Caldwell as defensive coordinator. On one hand, I say, okay, that seems like a guy who probably deserves a shot. He's been a linebackers coach for a while. Give him an opportunity. And so that one doesn't bother me as much. At the same time, as you've mentioned, Doug hands the keys to the defensive coordinator. So this isn't like I'll hold your hand and help you along here. This is go ahead. It's your defense. Make something out of it. So I kind of thought he might hire someone who had experience before. But, on this show, I feel like we often say, give people a shot who haven't had a shot, think outside the box. So I'm not going to kill that one. Maybe Mike Caldwell will be a great defensive coordinator, but we'll see how the rest of the staff comes together, but it has not, been what you said. It hasn't seemed like he spent the year coming up with this dream team of coaches. Now, my last sort of take here on Doug is that the quarterback can be the great eraser of everything else.
Exactly.
You can get the staff wrong. The owner can be terrible. The GM can suck. If that guy can play, and I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be like, this is great. Because if nothing else, no, it's soured with Wentz at the end. But Doug is a likable person from pretty much everyone I've ever talked to. Assistant coaches, people in the building, players. This isn't going to be someone who you're going, oh my God, this guy's walking into the room. I can't stand him. He's annoying. He's abrasive, any of those things. So after what Trevor Lawrence went through as a rookie with Urban Meyer and that absolute circus, if nothing else, this will bring a competence. This will bring a baseline of stability to the organization. And I think Lawrence will have an opportunity to succeed. So if that talent that everyone saw coming out of Clemson, making him this great prospect at number one, if that shines through, it will make up for almost everything else. And by the way, like I mentioned, the bar is very low to clear here. I mean, if you go 9-8 and make the playoffs in like the next 2 years, they might throw a parade. They might build a statue out of what's that stadium called in Jacksonville? I don't even know, whatever that is. But, you're already one of the most successful coaches in franchise history. So on that end of it, I kind of, if you're a head coach, you kind of have to look for which quarterback gives me the best shot. I mean, that should be number 1, 2, or 3 on your list of things you're looking for.
Yeah. So I thought you explained it well there, especially because going from Urban Meyer to Doug Pederson. Now, I don't want to say Urban Meyer had strength X or strength Y, right? But if you look at the things that Urban really focused on and emphasized and wanted his hands and everything, and you heard he said they needed to build the training room a certain way. They needed to have certain assistants with each position group, like an assistant to an assistant. Doug's not going to be as hands-on about everything. Doug's strength is the personality, is keeping guys loose, dealing with the locker room. That was what Doug always took pride in. Doug's not going to kick your kicker. I mean, Doug's not going to call, he's not going to call your kicker either. Right. Right. I mean, Doug will be, he's like, there's a part of Doug that still wishes he was a backup quarterback. Right. Like he loves that. He loves being with the guys, the locker room component of it. I asked him a number of times over the years why he was calling plays. Right. And his answer was always, well, selfishly, it's fun. It's like what I enjoy doing as a head coach. Right. And that's, I do think that will be a departure for that locker room compared, and in particular, Trevor Lawrence, compared to what they had with Urban. That said, the staff part of it does concern me because I never like when a coach comes in and just like hires a bunch of guys that they know.
Exactly.
Like you should be thinking, all right, this team that I watched, they're really interesting. I want to take someone who's been exposed to this guy and bring him onto my staff. Or, I've heard really good things about this assistant coach. It can't just be this guy was my former teammate, and this guy was on a staff with Andy Reid, and this guy shares my agent. That's not the way to build a staff. So I thought after the way it ended in Philly, where staffing was a major problem, I thought he would have a more imaginative.
He didn't get the message. Yeah.
No.
He didn't get the message there. So I'm with you. Yeah, 100%, especially when you have a year off. If this were last year and it's just he got fired and now he's taking a job, a month later, then it's harder to do. The same people, you lean on the same people. I totally understand. You had a year off. You could have been talking to, like you said, spend your Saturdays watching some college football games, which teams are doing something that's innovative, travel around. He has high school football coaching roots, is there somebody there maybe you bring them up as a quality control so that, and they can grow into the role. You're watching NFL games. You've coached it. I mean, he's coached against so many defensive coordinators. Like, isn't there a defense that he looked at and goes, oh gosh, I hate coaching against this defense. We gotta, maybe that would be a good tree to go to. But it seems like exactly what you said. It's people he's known from before. Coaching days, playing days. Mike McCoy was like right? He visited training camp. Wasn't that a
visited
thing?
with Sirianni this past year?
Oh, that was this past year. Okay.
Yeah, but I do believe I don't want to speak out.
Is he a Bob Lamont client?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe there's crossover with the agency.
There you go.
There.
So crossover with the agency. I mean, Mike McCoy did not end well in with the Chargers. He was not. He seemed sort of like an abrasive guy, ornery guy, and so that doesn't necessarily fit. Like I always view Doug like. Get that, he should be looking for his next Frank Reich, and maybe that's what he was looking for. But somebody who he really trusts, who he can lean on, who they can have a back and forth, who they can bounce ideas off of each other, that kind of thing. Maybe that'll be Mike McCoy, but I mean, I don't know. You don't want Mike. I almost felt like sometimes Doug took too much influence from the people around him, and there were so many cooks in the kitchen. Whereas, like, I don't think you want Mike McCoy having a lot of influence on that offense. But I don't know. If Mike McCoy has a career resurrection, then I will stand corrected.
I imagine Press Taylor is going to be a name you'll hear there, and I know the way Doug thinks about Press. Perhaps now that obviously didn't end well in Philly, right? But that might be the person who Doug leans on the most.
We shall see. All right. So I think that's now. The last thing I have here, Zach, is this is like this is probably it for Doug. Like depending on how if this doesn't go well, I don't think think of how hard it was. He was a Super Bowl winning head coach, went to the playoffs 3 times, and he had a really hard time in 2 cycles where there were a lot of openings and not a lot of great candidates. He had a really hard time to getting a job. I mean, if Balky's gone or if Leftwich says I can work with Balky, Doug probably doesn't have a head coaching job right now. And so he's kind of, he's just tied to Trevor Lawrence, and we'll see how it goes. But if it doesn't go well, then, his days as an NFL head coach could be over, which is kind of crazy to say when it was just 5 years ago, he just won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. And it's also, though, it's a low bar to clear there too. Right. Like he's not coming in with the Super Bowl or bust expectation. Yeah. If he has them competing for the playoffs, he gets a contract extension pretty quickly. Yeah. Right. So I do think I said when we a few weeks ago when we talked about these prospective jobs, the Jags job was interesting because of Trevor Lawrence, because of the cap space, because of the number 1 pick in the draft. I think they have 12 draft picks overall. You really have a chance to put your stamp on that roster, and the expectations are low. So if you can overcome what has been bad ownership, and if you can overcome a front office that doesn't have a lot of stability right now, that would be. I do think you can be there for a long time with that quarterback.
Good division to be in too. If you're looking, like I was thinking about this, it's on the surface, it sounds like a stupid thing to look for. Like you're looking for an NFL head coaching job. Should you really care what division you're in? But at the same time, if you look at it like I have 3 years to do something, or I'm going to be gone, then then kind of the short term does matter a lot. And so I looked at someone like Josh McDaniels, like, yeah, good luck. You're going to be competing against Mahomes and Justin Herbert 4 times a year. Yeah, like I don't think that's going to go well for you. And if you're Doug, I mean, you have a mediocre team in the Colts with a quarterback problem. You have a team in the Titans who it feels like they're well coached. They're going to be competitive, but they're not a juggernaut by any means. And they're probably their window is probably past. I didn't realize Ryan Tannehill is going to be 34 years old going into next season. I thought he was a little younger than that. So that's not great. And the Texans are probably, one of the worst organizations in the NFL. So like you're going to go, it's kind of like the NFC East, you're going to be December, unless you totally botch this thing, you should at least have a chance in December. So we will see how that goes with Doug P. I'm sure Bo will want to get some takes on Doug P out there when he returns. All right, I'm going to have you give a little Jonathan Gannon news while I go blow my nose, so I don't do that in the mic or on YouTube for everyone to see.
Sure. So as you all probably saw, the Houston Texans hired Lovie Smith, and a few days earlier, Jonathan Gannon was essentially told he was not going to get that job from all reports, and so he's going to be back. All the jobs are filled now, the head coaching jobs, and now the Eagles can go forward with Gannon as their defensive coordinator. From my understanding, they're most likely going to keep this staff together as well. I do think that if Gannon had left, if he had gotten that Texans job, there might have been a few shakeups with the defensive staff if they brought in a different coordinator, or if Gannon might have brought someone with him. But I think the staff's going to be together. So there's continuity with the coaching staff, continuity with the scheme, and really an opportunity here for Gannon to get players that fit what he wants to do. Now, I think it would be problematic for the Eagles to draft or acquire players based on Gannon's preferred scheme, because as we saw this year, Gannon might get a whole round of interviews next year too, right? So he might not be here for the long term. But I think that they'll have more of an opportunity to get what works for them, and it should make the defense better. I'm not as sour on Gannon as you are, Sheil. I don't know Marissa's stance on Gannon yet, but he does need to improve. I don't think it's an accident that he got these head coaching interviews. There are a lot of people, players, coaches who swear by him. I don't think that's an accident either. And I think personally, from my interactions with him, he's a bright guy who knows what he's doing. But that defense does need to improve in year two. And with 3 first-round picks and 10 picks overall, caps, much more cap space than last year, they're going to have the opportunity to address the key parts of that defense.
Lovie Smith, by the way, his defense was better than Jonathan Gannon's last year, and I don't think the talent was really comparable there. Let's see. Let's give him another year. I've said my piece on the defense, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. But for it to be a better defense, like I'm not convinced that the talent is going to be significantly better than it was this past year when they were 25th in DVOA. I mean, I'm assuming worse injury luck, as we've been over. They had one player they lost to injuries, Brandon Graham, and other than that, I mean, they were one of the healthiest defenses by my estimation. We'll see when the Football Outsiders comes out with its adjusted games lost where they rank, but I would imagine they were one of the healthiest defenses in the NFL last year. Players like Fletcher Cox and Darius Slay. I mean, Darius Slay, maybe you get the same performance. You might get a step back. You're more than likely not going to get a better performance. I mean, he had a great season, and he's over 30. And so to get the durability and the performance out of him, that could be a bit of a challenge. Fletcher Cox, we know, is not, trending in the direction where he's on the way up at this point. He can still be, I think, a starting caliber, quality defensive tackle, but he's not on the way up. And so we'll see with some of those guys. I mean, again, I looked at the talent this year and don't think it was, again, if I'm Howie Roseman, I'm saying I put together a defense that should have been better than 25th. Anthony Harris is a veteran safety. Rodney McLeod is a veteran safety. Steven Nelson. When I was looking at my free agency stuff, like that was a really good signing. I mean, they got him for what, $2.5 million last offseason. And I thought he was a competent starting corner, and that's not easy to do either. And now you're going to have to fill that spot. So you could potentially have to fill 3 spots in the secondary. How many, actually, John Ritchie Flex asked me this on my radio hit. Zach, how many new starters do you think the defense will have next year? I can tell you what I said if you want to go. Have you already thought about this, or do you want to go through it?
No, so here. So they'll have at most 3 in the second. At most 3 in the secondary. I would say 3. I think they replace all 3.
I agree.
I think they have 1 new linebacker starting, and then
maybe 2.
I don't think they have a new starting defensive end, because I think Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat will be the starting defensive ends. But they'll have a defensive end that plays a lot. So they're going to have.
We can count that guy as a starter, I think.
Okay,
defensive end.
So there you go. And by the way, we've discussed this. They haven't drafted a defensive player in the first 2 rounds since 2017. Anthony Harris, Steven Nelson, Eric Wilson, when they signed him, those guys were Band-Aid signings, right? They were just to get you through this year. They signed Steven Nelson just so they can have a competent outside cornerback. Otherwise, it would have been, Craig James or Zach McPherson starting on that side, or they would have had Avonte Maddox starting on that outside. The linebacker who was supposed to be their top linebacker was cut midseason, right? So look, I'm not saying this defense was great, and I understand what they ended in DVOA. I also think the Week 18 game, you have to look at it through 17 games, or I should say through 17 weeks rather. They need to get better, but I do think Gannon's better than his reputation in Philadelphia suggests.
He was there for all those, the coaching staff was in place for all those signings. And, you've mentioned Gannon's scouting background, and, I remember he was real pumped with the Milton Williams pick, right? That was the one he was. And that guy looks like a player. So, but, like Anthony Harris, Steven Nelson, Eric Wilson, I mean, they were, he was there. Like they should have been aligned for what they want to do. I mean, I still don't know, like when we say players that fit the defense, I honestly don't necessarily know what that is. Like I've made the joke in other conversations that just go with undrafted free agents at safety, because those guys just have to stand 30 yards off the ball and, keep everything in front of them. But I don't know, maybe they'll look for a playmaker at safety. Do you look for a playmaker at linebacker? Now, I mean, linebacker sort of seems to put when you're playing. Now, I know they played more man in the second half of the season, but it wouldn't hurt certainly to have more of a playmaker there. Defensive line's always going to be important. You feel like cornerback is kind of less important in this scheme, but at the same time, Slay played really well in this scheme. So we will see. We'll see where they go with this defense. That might be a nice tease, because in the next segment, we're going to talk free agency. And I put out, as I mentioned, my top 75 free agents. And I asked ZB to go through that list, pick 3 players who you say, this guy's kind of intriguing from an Eagles perspective. So I'm going into this one blind. Zach's going to tell me who those 3 names are in the next segment. And we'll bat around whether those guys could be good fits or not after the break.
Is something preventing you from achieving your goals? What interferes with your happiness? Check out BetterHelp.com/BWF. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. Connect in a safe and private online environment that is so convenient you can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. Send a message to your counselor anytime, and you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor, BetterHelp.com/BWF. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/BWF. Kick off 2022 with a better checking account with no monthly fees. Chime, an award-winning app and debit card, has no overdraft fees, foreign transaction fees, monthly fees, or service fees. With over 60,000 fee-free in-network ATMs at many locations like most Walgreens, 7-Eleven, CVS, you can access your money when you need it, where you need it. You can also send money to anyone, even if they aren't on Chime, fee-free for you and no cash-out fees for them. Make your first good decision of the new year and join over 10 million people using Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and it doesn't affect your credit score. Get started today at chime.com/BWF. That's Chime, CHIME.com/BWF. Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bancorp or Stride Bank N.A. members FDIC. Get fee-free transactions at any MoneyPass ATM in a 7-Eleven location and at Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Otherwise, out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. Sometimes pay anyone instant transfers can be delayed. The recipient must be a valid debit card or be a Chime member to claim funds.
All right, lots of love for Marissa doing the ad reads in the comments. Listen, I agree, but Marissa may be the most overworked person at the company, and so we're not going to put something else on her plate to do. This was sort of.
I will take a little bit of a blame for that. Sheil does the rest of the ad reads, but there was one I forgot to send, and one didn't have the correct code, so I had to step
you
up.
You didn't do it. She's covering for other people at the company, which is fine. You know, when you do your review or whatever, you don't need to do that, Marissa. You know, you need to speak openly and honestly, but to the public, I understand you doing that. All right, I've got some notes from the last show. Let's get to those, ZB, before we get to the free agents. I mean, they're just totally random order here, but Bo mentioning that he was going to go. He said the robes were nice at what was he saying, at a bed and breakfast or something?
Yes.
I have never put on a robe at a. Have you?
I've never put on a robe in general.
Me too. Actually, me too. But
so
especially
I'm not at
a hotel. Marissa, your thoughts?
I love a good robe, but I will never put one on at the hotel because I kind of feel like
somebody else has been wearing that.
Yeah, it kind of grosses me out a little bit. I'm like, they definitely don't wash them. They just hang them back up. So
well, I don't know about that.
I don't know. I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, but I will say like a robe at your house is great. So I would highly recommend.
When Bo said that, I didn't want to push back because I thought like maybe there's like false machismo here that you can't wear, right? Like just because I don't wear a robe, I shouldn't judge someone who does wear a robe. But it does seem very peculiar to like comment on the robes at a hotel, right? Like if I'm talking about the hotel, I agree with Marissa. Cleanliness is really important, right? Like I prefer newer hotels for that reason. Like a new, fresh hotel, the carpet still smells new. Mm-hmm. You like
or
that.
Better yet, no carpet, and they got no flooring.
They got the hardwood. Exactly.
Love that. Yeah.
Yes. So that I'll say that, but I would never go too deep into the hotel that I'm saying everything was good except the robe, or the room was junky, but this robe was impressive, right? Like I can't imagine the robe factoring into my evaluation of a hotel.
Yeah, because the robe, I mean, I'm with you. I haven't worn a robe. That's not a flex or a brag or anything. I mean, I'm not totally opposed to it. My wife likes a robe. Leela, when you have a 6-year-old wearing a robe, that's very funny around the house. But my impression of the robe is like you're not fully clothed under a robe, right? So like now, like you're having this random robe touching your actual skin that has touched other people's skin. I mean, I want no part of that. That does not sound appealing to me in the least. So yeah, I thought that was a little strange. I love your hotel note there because the Kapadias are going on a little NYC trip later this month, taking a few days off. And we were looking at, by the way, listeners, if you have any recommendations, pizza, coffee, something to do with the kids, all the Kapadias are going, let me know. We'll be there for a few days, but we're looking at the hotels online and I'm saying, oh, look, this is a new hotel. My wife's going, what are you talking? How do you know? What do you mean by new? Is that? And I'm going, look at the bathroom and look at the floor. You can tell whether it is a newer hotel or not. And by the end of it, she admitted, you're right. All right, I can see that bathroom looks pretty nice. That must be a newer hotel there. So I think you're spot on there.
And credit to Sheil at the combine. Sheil picked the hotel first. New hotel. I looked it up.
Hey.
I had been eyeballing. I'll admit this. I saw something on this a few weeks ago on that hotel opening, and I was thinking I would be very interested in potentially booking this for the combine, but it's not the traditional combine place. I didn't know if I'd be able to sell it to you and Bo. Credit to Sheil for having the just the confidence there to book the room, saying this is where I'm staying.
Yeah.
I see that text right away. I'm like, I am in. I knew, yeah. So then we put the onus on Bo to stay there. I imagine Bo's gonna have an issue with their desks, because
maybe
some of these
desks and robes.
some of these newer hotels, and actually, I read a story on this too a few years ago, where people aren't working at their desk as much in the hotel anymore, right? Or they have a laptop and they're sitting either on the bed with the laptop or the cat. So anyway, I'm going too deep here, but hotels are looking for almost a hybrid style thing as opposed to the traditional desk and desk chair. So I'm curious what the desk situation is here and how Bo reacts to it in Indianapolis.
Well, the newer hotel, you're going to get a nice bathroom, which I feel like is key. And then the customer service should be very good, because they're looking to impress. These are new people in this specific position. They want to get those nice reviews online. And so I feel like you have a few things working for you there. Jesse mentions, I should stop at the New York Times building, see if they'll let me in as an employee. Like I mentioned before, I would like to know if I can use that bathroom. We're walking around the city with the family. We pass by. Someone's got to go potty. Is there an idea? We haven't gotten any new IDs or anything like that. We're still athletic employees under the New York Times umbrella, but I feel like I just need to make a friend, maybe a, hey, I always enjoyed your work. Nice to be under the same. And then maybe I can just text them, hey, we're in the city. Can we use the potty here? Then I could give a nice review of the New York Times potties.
You're a senior national writer. I'm sure you're connected up top, right?
I don't know.
You
I
can
don't know about that.
Yes.
Now there was the other thing about the Kenny Pickett, Michael Dunn conversation was very funny. Now the whole tell someone I said hi thing. I've refused to do that for decades. I'm not doing that for you. If you want to say hi to someone, you say hi to them just because I'm going to see them. There's so many modes of communication now. You can text them, you can call them, you can email them, you can tweet at them, you can Instagram DM them. If you have an inclination to say hi to someone, go ahead and say hi to them. I'm not relaying your hi to someone else and then, starting some slow, meaningless conversation for 10 seconds before we can actually move on. So I suggest everyone adopt that.
So Jerry Seinfeld has a great bit on this.
Did I steal that?
Well,
I'm going to steal.
No.
Him,
So I'm
not
going to pretend. I'm not going to pretend that I'm Jerry here, right? So I can't do the same delivery. But his bit was when someone says, "Oh, send Michael my best," and he says, "Is this really your best?" Right? Having me tell this guy, this isn't the best you can do, right? So
exactly.
I see your point. I do like it as an icebreaker, but some people sell it better than some others do. Some people are like, "Oh, you know that? Let's chat," right? Or and then some other people I talked about it on the pod where you mention it to a player and they're just totally unmoved and they don't sell it, and then you end up just seem like an idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think in the work setting, it can work well as an introduction or an icebreaker, especially if it adds to your credibility. Hey, so-and-so said hi. Oh, so-and-so. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to answer your questions. So I'm fine using it there, but otherwise, come on. We don't
I think
need to
the
be doing
podium probably interfered with that conversation.
What do you mean? Because he already did his media. Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe if it was a one-on-one setting, it would have been a little, more casual, but
now have they worked out since? Do we have an update there?
Michael said he saw him very briefly, like in passing, so he didn't get to
Okay.
talk to him yet. So
Okay.
I'm very curious to see. I
Did
told
he yell,
Michael,
Bo Wolf says hi?
I
You know,
told
as
Michael
no.
he's not allowed to bring it up. He's got to see if Kenny brings it up. That's part of
Love
the
this.
bit.
See,
So-
these types of things are so exciting to me in life. Like I'm legitimately excited about how this plays out.
Yeah, so I will keep all of the sickos updated. But
Okay.
Also, credit to Bo, because I imagine the reason that he wanted to talk to Kenny was for an outstanding Senior Bowl piece that only Bo could write on rock, paper, scissors shoot with the draft prospects. Make sure you guys check it out if you haven't. When Bo told me the idea, I thought it was very creative. I like that he was doing it and he executed it well. So good job there. And I appreciate the first comment. There was a commenter. The first comment on there was someone saying like, "Oh, I came here for actual scouting reports," and then I guess it was a Bo.
Ripped.
I guess it was it was a minion says I guess you would just prefer another boring Zach Berman article instead of this. So if you want a boring Zach Berman article, we'll have a few of those. And Bo can pull off the rock, paper, scissors shoot well.
There were some commenters who mentioned video would be good. I think we need to get video down to the senior because that's the one place where like there's no restrictions, right? There's no guideline like the NFL stuff. You can only post 90 seconds there.
Yep.
He can do whatever he wants with video. So that's something we need to keep in mind next year. All right. Few other things here. Got a lot of egg feedback. I mean, really, a lot of egg feedback. It's been great. I would say Rich Bobby and Brad Rutter, 2 DFOPs, gave the most sort of helpful, detailed analysis so far. You know, Rich Bobby sent me to this Gordon Ramsay sort of video about how to do it. I've been making eggs like that. It's been working great. Brad Rutter, I mean, talk about an egg savant, you know, not just the Jeopardy goat, but an egg savant. I got to order this specific pan, and then it's a very involved process, but I look forward to working that out as well. If anybody else wants to, now these have been for like Scrammies generally. So if anyone wants to give me a little omelet, a little egg muffin, you know, something to do with a hard boiled egg, all those things, keep those coming. Sheil at theathletic.com. I'm actually still going through some of these. I mean, there really were a lot of feedback there. So that's been awesome. Chip, you guys had a little Chip Kelly talk last week. What was it? What was the impetus for that, Zach? It was something about how in the building, you know, he doesn't say hi or something. You remember this on the last pod?
Yeah. So
that was kind of his reputation.
Yeah, but there was Chip Kelly talk at dinner as well. So I don't want to conflate the two, but it was probably about that. It was probably in the building. Oh yes. It was related to the no sell, right? That Kenny Pickett did on the Michael Dunn comment and how Bo once brought it up to John Lovett, the former safeties coach.
Right.
And I made the joke because if you guys recall, my first encounter, like my first one-on-one encounter with Chip, that is not like at a podium. I had gone to his hometown and I go up and I tell him this and I thought I was in with him and he was like appalled that I would be talking to his friends from high school. Right. So I was saying the no sell was probably like a key to Chip's staff.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, and I feel like that kind of tracked with my experiences with John Lovett. I don't know, he might be a great guy. I didn't find him to be the most verbose. Is that means talkative,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, but I wanted to say about Chip. You know, I feel like my rapport with Chip is better than I've had with any head coach I've covered. And that doesn't mean we were like, you know, we were boys. There weren't a lot of one-on-one interactions, but whether it was press conference or like I remember seeing him when he took the Niners job at the owners meetings and making a little small talk. I feel like we got along in those media coach settings, maybe more so than any other head coach I've covered. So that might say something more about me than the other head coaches, but I just wanted to offer a balanced report there.
Well, I mean, you certainly don't need to bounce me out because I thought Chip was an absolute joy to cover in that.
Oh gosh, we're going to get crushed for this.
No, from because people hear like the sound bites and things like that, but he would put actual thought into his answers, right? He was not just up there spouting, coach speak. He would give you like it'd be fast speaking, it'd be truncated because he would not go past the time that whistle blew, or that horn blew rather. But if you asked him a specific question, he would give you a specific answer. And we use the expression that he did not suffer fools. So, if you asked the question that he did not deem to be, or that he considered like a waste of his time, he would respond accordingly. So
Yeah,
he was entertaining the cover in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're on. I think I think when Bo does his review of this episode, he may crush us for that,
That's
but
fine.
that's okay. Now the South Alabama Student Union, Zach. I know you probably don't want to go back to.
I will defend this. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did
Fire
you
away.
eat? Did you eat at the Student Union?
So I was gonna eat in the rental car.
Okay.
But
I love eating lunch in a car, by the way. I thought Namdi got a raw deal for that. It's a very enjoyable experience. You put on radio, podcast, you don't have to communicate with anybody, and you eat. I mean, what's not great about that? Maybe open the window, some fresh air. Sorry, go ahead.
Sure. No, I was going to eat in the rental car, but this was a day when it was pouring rain, and I didn't want, I parked a little bit of a distance away. I didn't want the Chick-fil-A bag to get all wet, right? So I ate I pulled up a seat there. It wasn't like I pulled up to a table with a bunch of freshmen, right? I sat at an empty table. It took me 3 minutes to eat these Chick-fil-A nuggets, and that was it. So, but I don't see the big deal about eating at a student student center, student union. There's no issue there. It was the most convenient Chick-fil-A to the campus. They were practicing on a college campus. It would be very odd if they were not practicing on the college campus, and I drove to South Alabama to eat at the student union and then came back to Mobile. The fact that the stadium was like a minute away, I thought it was like logistically made it much more sense.
Okay, I don't think that came through clearly in the first part that they were practicing right there.
I agree.
I actually thought you were passing through.
No,
stopped there and ate there because I mean I'm of two minds of this. I sort of agree with you that I like the energy of a college campus.
Yes.
I mean everybody you probably loved college, and so it's fun to kind of this isn't my college, but what's it like here? Oh, this is interesting. There's these food spots and campus clothing stores and people walking, young people walking around. So on that end, I get it. But at the same time, Zach, I mean, you're what, in your mid-30s now? I mean, a student going in, it's one thing. I feel like campus, like going to a college campus and like a food spot is one thing. To go into the student union, like when I was a student, I don't remember many mid-30s guys just coming around, pulling up a chair, sitting there with me.
Pulling up a chair though.
and Marissa mentioned, like, I would have thought you were a professor, and that's true. If you are a professor, it's acceptable. But then if you're not a professor, then it's like, what the hell's going on here? Is this guy trying to scalp the co-eds or something in his mid-30s? Is there a creep factor that is associated with this? So I think Bo didn't want to come out and say that necessarily, but I think that was kind of the elephant in the room in that conversation.
So I will defend this college town bit that Bo kills me on, because the implication is like this co-ed part of it, which is not at all the case. Okay, a college town is a great spot. It's always walkable, right? Because people don't really have cars in college often. I don't want to generalize, or there are some commuter schools. I get that, but these college towns that I went to this year, there's always good places to eat at reasonable prices. Again, because that's your target audience, and there's an energy there to college campuses. Yeah. So when we went to Detroit this year, I went to Ann Arbor. I will admit that. I'm trying to think of when we were in Fort Worth. I went to TCU's campus. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I don't see an issue with this here. When I went to Jamestown, I stopped in State College for lunch.
Right, this is sounding like an issue, Zach. I mean, these are a lot of college campuses you've been to in the last in the last year here.
So I actually remember my first job, my first full-time job out of college was covering the University of Virginia, and I, in my time in college at Syracuse, I was covering the Big East. Syracuse wasn't in the ACC at the time, and a lot of the Big East schools are like urban schools or city type schools. Yeah. And my first trip on the ACC beat on the Virginia beat was to University of North Carolina, was to Chapel Hill. And like, if you're on Franklin Street, you're like, this is really impressive, right? And like
again, Zach, I mean, we might want to just go to the next.
This is a fun place. So anyway, I enjoy college campuses. That's all. There's nothing like sinister or weird.
This needs to be an Osprey for Bo listening. Like, which best college campus Zach visited this?
Something. There are different ways we could categorize this year. Okay, we will now. John is saying there could be grad students over 30. There could be people in your class over 30. That's true, but Zach is not any of these things. He's just a random visitor. So anyway, we'll leave that. Let's stick with colleges. 2 more quick things, and then we'll get to the free agents.
Sorry. Sorry to keep this rolling. Yeah.
The syllabus thing. I mean, wow. Unbelievable.
Sheil, what was your reaction when you heard that?
Well, because I've been stumping for a similar job on this pod, I've got Penn State, Brandywine 10 minutes away. I got Villanova's 20 minutes that way. Westchester I could get to in a half an hour, all the city schools I could get to, and then a half an hour, no one's calling me to do anything. And now I'm seeing why, because if the candidate pool is people who already have created a syllabus and me who think I could just go in there and, talk about some experiences for a little bit, then I'm not going to get hired. So Zach, I need you to kind of get in to one of these colleges.
Me too.
And then give me the recommendation. I go, listen, I can be on a lower level, whatever, you have your pick, maybe move up the ranks a little bit and then say, hey, there's this bald Indian man in media who would be a wonderful addition to our sports journalism curriculum here. We should bring him in. So I feel like you are probably would be more respected than me in kind of the academia. You got the awards to show, all that. You've got a syllabus. You'll be more prepared. So yeah, we do need. We've got a lot of listeners. There's got to be someone with an in at one of these journalism schools, doesn't there have to be? It doesn't even have to be a journalism school. It could be a college without a journalism school that just wants to do a sports media, a sports writing, sports whatever class. I would imagine that would be a popular class.
It doesn't even need to be sports. It could just be journalism. Just be
media, I would
right?
like to do sport. You do that. Okay. Then when you do a little sports spinoff, I want to stick to sports. Listen, the other stuff is sort of out of my, I could give you the basics, but I don't want to get too involved there. So
someone in the chat suggested we start a BWF course. And you guys are the professors.
Okay.
Spinoff pod.
That's the podcast, really. Yeah. We're school is in session. All right. Last thing. So I'm trying to grow a little bit of a beard here. Are you guys watching Billions or no?
I'm behind on it. I don't have Showtime at the moment, but I need to get it again.
I did start Succession and Abbott Elementary.
And
I'm a great student.
Early reviews.
Love both.
Oh, outstanding.
Really good. Michael's watching Succession with me too, and he really likes that as well.
Those might be the top 2 in the Kapadia household over the last year, to be honest. Both great ones. But Mike Prince in Billions, he's this bald guy, but he's got a beard. So I'm thinking instead of just going bald, maybe I should add a little something. I've run into a little bit of an issue when the beard grows out. It doesn't grow like the hair just grow out, like it's like a porcupine. Almost. I don't know if anyone else has had this issue, what I have to do with it, but I don't want like a long one. I just want a little bit, trimmed it. So I need some advice on how to do this. When I mentioned this to my wife, she said, all you do is use Birds with Friends to help your personal problems. And I said, yeah, that is the point of having a podcast. So if any of you know of a Mike Prince, if you know what I should do here, let me know. The right kind of trimmer, you kind of down here, you want to shave all that. You shave the head, but just a nice, I got a wedding coming up to go to this month. I need to get this in order here in the next few weeks.
It's interesting you said that about your wife, though, because my first year on Birds with Friends, I never said this, but I remember thinking there's a lot of like hygiene and grooming talk here, right? More than I would, than I anticipate. I didn't know this was if I'm talking to my friends, I'm talking to my brothers, like we're not talking hygiene or grooming that often. Much, the type of deodorant, the type of soaps. That's a Birds with Friends staple, I suppose.
Well, now I have to get to one more thing here. Now that you brought it up, but I get the great athletic newsletter, The Pulse, in my email inbox.
Chris Branch.
Every morning, Chris Branch does a terrific job with that. And Zach, I know you're plugged into college hoops. I don't pay attention to college hoops until March starts, and then I'm in. Great event to put a little lettuce on. But I saw Arkansas upset Auburn last night, right?
Yep.
And so there was this picture of Eric Musselman, right? He's the coach of Arkansas, with his shirt off on the. Did you see this on court?
I did.
And he kind of lifted his arm up for a fist pump. My man's got totally clean shaven armpits. Did you notice this?
I didn't see that part of it. No,
Marissa, did you see this photo?
I didn't see the photo, but I did see him like dancing.
Yeah,
and he was having a great time. But that's interesting.
Totally clean shaven. What do you think about that? I mean, listen, I like to get it, nice and tight there. I'm with him there, but I mean, this was just, it's like shaving your face or my bald head right now. There was nothing there. And I thought the confidence to give a fist pump when doing that too. If I'm covering Arkansas hoops, I mean, I'm leading with that question in the next press conference.
They just beat the number one team in the country, and you're leading with that, right?
That comes and goes. A clean shaven armpit. That's the story. That's how you get, when you said, what did you say your advice was? Fair and square? Did your all journalism students?
Be there and be fair. Yes.
Be there and be fair. Mine is always do something that no one else is doing.
I like that.
If someone can read a similar story to yours in another outlet, then what are you doing? Why would they read you? You got to do something different. So Arkansas beat writers, take that advice. If any of you are listening, let's get to the bottom of the clean shaven armpit. Okay, you both look frightened. Let's get to the.
That was a big win for Arkansas, by the way. Auburn is an absolute awesome team to watch this year with Jabari Smith, and so that was a big win for Arkansas.
There you go. I'll give you all my college hoops thoughts in the second week of March when I'm just making stuff up and picking games. All right, we've got my top 75. This took a big chunk of the weekend. This is one of those that it always takes longer than you anticipate to do, but I do enjoy doing it. It's a nice primer for the off season. Zach went through the top 75, and I said, ZB, give me 3 names on here that you feel like could interest the Eagles. Zach, give me 1. Who did you come up with?
Okay, I have the 3 that would be like the dream trio.
Okay.
And then I have the 3 that I think would be the more realistic trio.
All right. Give me the first set, and then we'll do the second set.
And so perhaps, there's a combination of this, but to me, the dream trio would be Jesse Bates, Mike Williams, and Foye Sadeye Oluwakan.
Oluwakan. Foye Oluwakan.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
good ones.
Those would be the, if they came in with Jags cap space, they wanted to spread it out, that would be the way to go. And I can speak about, or I would actually be interested in you speaking about those guys. But then I think the more realistic one would be DJ Shark, Justin Reed, and Kaiser White.
Okay. These are all good names. Let's get to some of them. Jesse Bates, obviously, if you've been paying attention to the playoffs, he's been making a lot of plays. Cincinnati Bengals, 25 years old, makes a lot of plays on the ball. Now, Jesse Bates is a prototypical free safety. So, again, this comes down to what kind of scheme are we looking at? Are they playing more too high looks? Because he's not, someone who you would necessarily want to be in the box, covering the slot, doing a lot of different things. I mean, to me, he's someone who, if you're playing more single high, he's got great range, can make a lot of plays on the ball, but a fantastic player. Now, He could get the franchise tag from the Bengals because the franchise tag for safeties is not a big number. And if he's going to get paid as a top 5 safety, you're looking at probably between $14.5 and $17.5 million per year. So I would be surprised if they were able to land someone at that price point, but they need 2 safeties. So yeah, he would be more the Rodney McLeod type, I guess. And certainly a young player who you could say this guy can be a core player for us for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever. So that was a good one. Mike Williams. I would imagine every Eagles fan would love to have a Mike Williams on their team. Big, fast, can make plays downfield. Had a career year last year for the Chargers, over 1,100 yards, 17 receptions of 20 plus yards last season. I think he's going to get a big payday. If you look at it last year, Kenny Golladay was my comp for Mike Williams. Now, he didn't have a huge market, and then all of a sudden the Giants and Dave Gettleman said, hey, he hasn't had a big market, but let's just pay him at the top of the market anyway. And they paid him $18 million a year. Is Williams going to get quite that high? Maybe not, but he could. I think he would be a very attractive player. This is a good philosophical discussion, though, Zach. If you're the Eagles right now, and right now Jalen Hurts is your quarterback, and we saw what type of offense they ran with Jalen Hurts in the second half of last offseason. What do you think about the likelihood, whether it's you putting yourself in Howie Roseman's shoes or what you think they should do personally, of spending that kind of money on another wide receiver when you already have a legit starter in Devontae Smith?
I think it needs to be a priority. I think to improve this passing game, they need to upgrade at wide receiver. I think it needs to come via free agency because they've spent 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick in the past 3 years on the position. And I think Devontae Smith is entrenched in there, and he's only going to get better. So I think you need to find someone who complements Devontae Smith. And I also think you need to find someone who works well with Dallas Goedert, with the way you want to use Dallas Goedert. And so I think a prototypical X receiver would be the way I would go. I would compare it, frankly, to the 2017 offseason when they signed Alshon Jeffrey, right? Where you want someone to play that X spot. And I really think that's where I would look in free agency this year.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because you're paying Goddard to be one of your top 2 pass catchers. You don't pay a tight end over $14 million a year if he's not going to be that. And he's shown he can do that. He was very good last year. I think with a more efficient passing game, he certainly could be that. So now you're saying Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, top 2 options. Now to pay whatever it's going to be, $14, $15 million a year for a guy who's going to be in that mix, when also you might be among the top 5 most run heavy teams in the NFL next season. So I do think it's a little tricky there. I almost think like you keep an eye on those guys. And if a wide receiver's price drops a little bit, or there's a 1-year deal to be had, maybe you do that.
Just like Alshon in 17.
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. I think that would probably make more sense to me. And then of course, keep trying to see if you can find somebody in the draft there. So, all right, that's interesting. Foye Oluokun, linebacker from the Atlanta Falcons. I got to say, when I was doing the research here, the numbers for Foye Oluokun blew me away. I knew he was a good player. He's one of those guys that if you watch Red Zone on Sundays, it seems like every time they go to a Falcons game, like Foye Oluokun is making a play. I think I might have said that in our week 1 preview of that Eagles-Falcons game, but he led the NFL with 192 tackles last season. He leads the NFL over the last 2 seasons with 309 tackles. Now, tackles aren't everything, but during that span, 5 interceptions, second most among linebackers, 5 forced fumbles, tied for second. And he played 98% of the snaps last season and has missed just 1 game in 4 NFL seasons. So, there's a lot there. Production, he's only 27. He's been durable. Seems like a high character guy. I know Dean Pease was very complimentary of him this season. Ivy Leaguer there. So as you say with Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham, must be the smartest guy out there. Ivy Leaguer. The off-ball linebacker market can be very tricky. You have guys like Corey Littleton, Joe Schobert, Blake Martinez, those guys have signed recent deals worth more than $10 million a year. I don't see the Eagles paying a linebacker more than $10 million per year. But you have other guys who kind of slip through the cracks, and you say, all right, maybe you can get them for a 1-year deal. Maybe you can get them for cheaper. So that's another one where I'd say you keep an eye on it, see what the price point is. Certainly would be a huge upgrade, though, I think, to this defense.
And is it Foye or Foye Sade?
I think he goes by Foye. I mean, Foye is the short.
Okay.
Yeah, the official, his actual name is, I don't know how you pronounce it. I should have looked this up because
I looked up the pronunciation before the show, and that's why I was trying to, Foye Sade. Yep. Okay. And no, yeah, exactly. I've liked him the past 2 seasons, and I agree that I don't think the Eagles would pay big for a linebacker. If they do, it needs to be someone who can cover, and he can cover. And that's why in my next list, I went with Kaiser White, because that's someone else who can cover.
That's a good one. Kaiser White, let's get right to him. I asked our colleague and Maryland alum, Daniel Popper, about Kaiser White of the Los Angeles Chargers. Very intriguing player, 26 years old, had a career year last year, 144 tackles, 8th league wide, converted safety. So he's got that skill set that he can do a little bit of everything. He's not just a downhill thumper, can do a little bit of everything, and, young ascending player. So he's actually more likely, in my opinion, than Aluakan to maybe be someone who slips through the cracks, where you say, wow, there's not a huge market for him, or maybe he settles for a 1-year deal and then wants to test the market again next offseason. So that was a good one. I think that, could be a potential name to watch there. Who were the other two in your second group?
DJ Shark.
All right. DJ Shark is a good one.
And then for the safety in that group, it was Justin Reed.
Okay. Chark, 26 years old, downfield threat, very good from 2019 to 2020, 6'3", ran a 4.34, was injured last year, so only played in 4 games. He may fit that Alshon. He may be more of a fit in that Alshon thing you mentioned, because he could settle for a 1-year deal. He says, I only played 4 games last year. It's a pretty good wide receiver free agency group. Maybe I sign a 1-year deal. I'm only 26 years old. Will Fuller, maybe that's a good comp. He signed the 1-year, $10 million year deal last offseason with the Dolphins. Maybe Chark signs for 1 year, $8 million, 1 year, $9 million, and says, let me build my value back up. You get him in the building. If you really like him, you can extend him if he plays well. If not, you don't have to do that. But yeah, he's an intriguing guy. Great downfield threat. And he's not I don't think he's a one-trick pony. I think in a good offense, he can really put up big numbers.
I agree with you. He was really impressive 2 years ago. Size speed combination is exactly what you look for. He ran what a 4.34 or thereabouts at the combine. And to use your logic, it sometimes pays off to sign guys from bad situations, right? If you're signing a guy from a great front office or a great player development team, you're kind of thinking, all right, why are they letting him go? But if you're signing Allen Robinson from Jacksonville, all right, it's a change of scenery type situation.
Yeah, and with the 1-year deal, if he has a monster year and leaves and signs a big deal, the comp pick comes into account. If you're able to extend him, you have more information on that player, so it is appealing. And then the last one, Justin Reed, the safety from the Houston Texans, 25 years old. Originally a 3rd-round pick in 2018, started 53 games, played 70% of his snaps at free safety. So I think that's where his greatest value is at free safety. But maybe he can do a little bit of everything. Actually, I'm looking at the guy running underneath him. Jordan Whitehead of the Bucks might be another guy to keep an eye on. He's someone with a little more versatility and is probably going to be less expensive. But I do think that's probably the safety market you're looking at. I think you want a young guy who can be a part of the team's core, who can do what you want there. So, all right, we'll talk a lot more. Go ahead.
And that's why Edmonds was also a guy that I had circled there. Based on your description, probably more of a strong safety type, in the box type. Yeah. And so you have to figure out what type of scheme you were going to run. But in terms of age profile, in terms of, pedigree, he was a high draft pick. he's also someone to watch out for.
Okay. We will get to a lot of these guys. We have a lot of time in the months ahead. We're going to take one more break. Then we got to talk Super Bowl prop bets. Zach, I've got about 22 minutes before I have to make sure I get Leela from the bus. So that should be plenty of time. We're going to play that game when we get back. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2022, why are you still paying crazy amounts of money every month for wireless? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you maximize your savings with plans starting at just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk and text and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. With Mint Mobile, choose the amount of monthly data that's right for you and stop paying for data that you never use. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. That's right. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/birds. That's mintmobile.com/birds. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/birds. It's a new year, but it's feeling harder than ever to find and hire the qualified people you need, especially for small businesses. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. They make it easier to find people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. Focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience and use screening questions to get your role in front of only the most qualified. Then use the simple tools on LinkedIn Jobs to quickly filter and prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/BWF. That's linkedin.com/BWF to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Zibby, last thing I forgot to ask you about free agency. Derek Barnett, I believe, was my only Eagle on there. I had him at 46. What did you think about where he was slotted? And were there other Eagles? So you thought this guy has a case to be on there?
I think someone with Barnett's talent and age profile, that's appropriate. But if the production hasn't been there consistently in 5 years and it hasn't been for a lack of opportunity. You know, I look at some of these other edge rushers in that age profile who've hit the market, whether it's like a Zadarius White type, right? In the past, I'm sorry, Zadarius Smith, not Zadarius White.
Smith, yeah.
He wasn't a full-time starter. You know, right. Oftentimes you see these guys. It's more opportunity. That's not the case with Barnett. So I think there's going to be a team that gambles on his talent, but if he hasn't shown it in 5 years, I'm not sure if the prolific sack production is going to be there in year 6.
Yeah, I had a really tough time slotting him because has never had more than 6.5 sacks in a season, had more roughing the passer penalties than sacks last year. And I thought his film was bad last year. I mean, you look at their starting 4 defensive linemen, he was easily their worst starting defensive lineman. Now, having said that, edge rushers, that's a premium position. Guys get paid. You know, Romeo Okwara got $12.3 million per year last year, but he was coming off a 10-sack season. And so he didn't have like this long body of work, but he was coming off his best season. But then someone like Hassan Reddick last year, and I know he's more of a hybrid guy, he got 1 year, $6 million from the Panthers. So it's sort of tough to project. Carl Nassib got $8 million a year from the Raiders. And so I have a hard time seeing Barnett getting under that. You know, I think he'll probably come in between Nassib and Aquara between 8 and 12, or he could sign a 1-year deal and say, I'm young enough. I'm coming off a bad year. Let me sign a 1-year deal in a scheme I like and with a coach I like, maybe surrounded with talented players, put up some better numbers, and then maybe hit the market again next offseason.
And then no other Eagles, I would say, need to be in there. Steve Nelson was available for every team last year. I thought he was solid this year, but I don't think he's a top 75 free agent.
Yeah, I think he'll make the top 150. That'll come out in a few weeks. All right, here's the Super Bowl exercise. Bo, I know you're listening. We can say where Bo is, right? I mean, he gives away your personal information all the time. Bo is on a beach somewhere in Jamaica listening to this. And so, Bo, if you want in on this exercise, you can join. Just tell us what your bets are, and you can get in on this. If we have any listeners, who are in Jamaica, go find Bo. There with his wife. I'm sure they would like the company down there. So here's what we're going to do. Zach and I each have a a fictional $1,000 to spend. We can spend them any way we want on Super Bowl bets. They can be something that has minus 800 odds. They can be something that has plus 2,000 odds. It doesn't matter. We can spend it any way we want to. As many bets as we want. If you want to put all 1,000 on one, you can do that. I might have to do that because we are running up against the clock here a little bit. But and then we're going to see who has more money at the end of the Super Bowl. Loser owes the winner a pastaficios. And Bo, again, if you want to get in on this, then we can have the two losers by the winner. Pastaficios, two pastaficios. What's better than that? So I assume Daniz, I don't know, he's in off-season form. I don't know if he's jonesing to put together some type of table and wants to track this. If he wants to, that would be great. If not, we'll figure out some way to track this.
Do you have a name for this game, Sheil?
No, we don't
Okay.
do names when Bo's not here. Yeah.
Okay. We'll come up with one.
Okay. All right. Zach, do you want to start or should I start?
You start.
Okay. I'm going to put the most money on the Bengals to score over 23.5 points. It's plus 110 are the odds, and I'm going to put $300 on that. I think that they are, they can score in a hurry, where even if they're stuck in a rut, 3-4 drives in a row, they don't do anything. All of a sudden, Jamar Chase can put together, score on a 60-yard touchdown, and they're right back in it. I believe in Joe Burrow. Rams defense is good. It's not a juggernaut. And so 23.5. I actually, if you're thinking about betting on the Bengals plus 4.5, I almost feel like, you might be better off to go just take that bet. You get better odds, plus 110 over 23.5. And then if they lose or they don't cover, but they still score over 23.5, you still win, because I don't know that the Bengals are going to cover if it's like a really low scoring game. I don't think they're going to consistently stop the Rams offense. So that's my first one. Bengals score over 23.5 points, plus 110 for $300.
So mine here, this was a Lions boost one. So I am I'm pumping up our partner BetMGM. The Lions boost was Joe Mixon over Cam Akers in rushing yards minus 105. So it got boosted down to minus 105. So I like that the boost was there because it helps the odds. I'm going to put 400 on this one.
400. Oh,
well,
baby.
Well, just because I have some longer odds ones that, okay. I don't want to put, so if I'm betting one that's minus 105, I would rather put a little more money down just because it has a higher probability of occurring.
Yeah, I did this in a hurry off of my article and just wrote down random, because you're right. If you were really doing this with consideration, you'd put lower numbers on the big odds. Yes. I mean, that might be the way to go, but anyway, that's fine. Let's go Snake. Why don't you give me your second one also?
Okay. So, and I know this is one that you have as well. Aaron Donald to win the game MVP plus 1,200 are the odds here. So I am going to go, let's go $50 on that.
Oh man, that's exactly what I've got. I've got the same, Marissa. It looks like you're keeping track over there. I've got the exact same one. Aaron Donald plus 1,200 to win MVP. Defensive player has won, and for $50. Defensive players won it twice in the last 10 years, but this could really set up for Aaron Donald. I mean, if it's a low scoring game and Aaron Donald is just dominating against that bad Bengals offensive line, and let's say Stafford throws a couple interceptions and you're not going to give him the MVP, Donald is an all-time defensive player already. This could kind of be his signature moment. So I do like that one as well. So we can jump around here a little bit, because if we have the same one, we should probably just mention it. So I'm going to go with my 2 running back ones here. So this kind of goes off of what you just had. First one, Cam Akers under 64.5 rushing yards. That's plus 110. I'm putting $100 on that. Actually, I think that's minus 110 here. Yeah, that's minus 110. Sorry, I wrote it down incorrectly. Cam Akers came back in week 18, had an Achilles injury. In 4 games, he's rushed 59 times for 154 yards, 2.6 yards per carry, has not topped 55 yards in any of those games, fumbled twice in the divisional round. I mean, are they really going to feed Cam Akers in this game?
Yep.
I don't think so. And so I've got the under there. And I'm also taking the under for the other running back, Joe Mixon, under 62.5. That one is minus 115. I'm putting $100 on that one as well. This Rams rush defense is really good. The Bengals sometimes operate like they have a good rushing offense. They do not. So Zach Taylor, if you're listening, let's not overdo it with those first and second down runs. Let's put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands. But the Rams just limited the 49ers to 50 rushing yards on 25 attempts. And so I don't see the Bengals having a big rushing game. So I like the under for both those running backs.
So I actually have Joe Mixon over 16.5 carries.
Ooh.
Okay. So I didn't go yards there. I went carries. I do think they are going to give the ball to Mixon. They've shown that throughout the season. They've shown that in recent weeks. I'm not convinced on the yardage number, but I like the over 16.5 carries. So I have 100 on that one. And staying with the running theme here, I have Joe Burrow under 11.5 rushing yards. Now that's minus 115. So the odds aren't great in terms of the payout there. I'm putting 100 down on that. So I'm not getting 100 back if I hit it, but I like him not having a big running performance.
Speedy Rams front there. So some of those plays where he got away from the Chiefs, maybe he doesn't get away from the Rams defensive line. And that's always a tricky one, because all it takes is that one 12-yard scramble. And so you could be looking good in the fourth quarter, but all right, it's a good one. I've got another sort of a long shot here. Cooper Kupp to score a touchdown and the Bengals to win plus 400. So, you're doing a little Bengals money line, but at the same time, I mean, I can imagine a game where Cooper Kupp doesn't score a touchdown. I guess that's probably a sucker's bet, me saying that, but 20 touchdowns in 20 games. I mean, the guy is a monster. He's unbelievable in the red zone, in those short spaces. And so to get that at plus 400, you're okay if he scores a touchdown. Bengals win the game. You got a little added juice there. So I will go with that one. And my other long shot here is both teams to score 25 plus, and Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford to throw for 250 plus, and that's plus 450. And I'm putting $50 on that. At first I looked at this and I said, that's a great bet. It's absolutely going to hit. And then I did a little research, and I think it's only 3 times in the last 10 Super Bowls both teams have scored 25 points. So it's not often that happens, but I do think both quarterbacks can get over 250 plus. You get some nice juice there with the plus 450. So I will go with that one.
So I'm going with some receiving numbers here too. This is a bit of a long shot, so I'm only I don't want to say only, I'm putting 75 fictional dollars down on it here. Jamar Chase having the most receiving yards in the game, plus 450. And I understand Cooper Kupp's the top receiver in this game, but Jamar Chase, because he's a deep threat, right? You catch one deep ball in this game, I think it's a chance to boost those numbers. So most receiving yards, plus 450. I have $75 there. And then Tyler Boyd, who I know showed up in Sheil's list today, I have him over 4.5 catches. I have that's plus 130. So You know, the odds are helping there. And then I have $100 on that. And of course, 100 fictional dollars. Todd Boyd. I'm sorry. Tyler Boyd. I imagine the Bengals are really going to work the middle of the field. I think that's where the Rams are the weakest in this game. This needs to be a Tyler Boyd game. Shout out to Fran Duffy on that one.
Yeah, I kind of like yours better than the one I wrote in my column, because I've got Tyler Boyd over 40.5 receiving yards here, minus 110, $100. But I kind of like your receptions better, Then if they throw a little screen or something to him and he doesn't pick up a lot of yards, you still get the receptions there. But I'll stick with the receiving yards, 40.5 over. Minus 110. I think the Rams will certainly have their attention on Jamar Chase, double him. And then it comes down to, will T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd be able to cash in more? All right, I'll just close it out on my end with my last two here. This one's pretty, these are both pretty much nonsense, but they're fun. That's what the Super Bowl's for. Shortest touchdown over 1.5 yards, minus 110, $100. So if there is not a touchdown from the 1 yard line or closer, then you win that one. I mean, that's going to be really exciting. If there's a snap from the 1 yard line, you got a goal line stand, you're going nuts. People think you just like goal line stands, but you actually won a little lettuce on that one. So I will go with that one. And then my last one is also nonsense. No team to record 3 or more unanswered scores plus 175. That's touchdown, field goal, or safety. 3 in a row. It seems like a lot. I think they're going to go back and forth a little bit in this game. I am putting $100 on that one.
So let's go back to the MVP race here. And I'm going any other position other than quarterback, plus 260 on that, and $75. And, because this factors in Cooper Kupp, this factors in Jamar Chase, this factors in if Jalen Ramsey gets 2 interceptions. I know the quarterbacks get most of the attention here, but I do think this is a year when the non-quarterbacks are getting a lot of love going into this game, especially after the season that Cooper Kupp has had, and especially because Aaron Donald is a huge name. And then my last one, just so we have this covered here, Rams, I had it -4. Because actually when the line first came out last week, it was -4. It hadn't moved. So I'm not going with what's currently on BetMGM. I'm going with what I was actually able to get it at.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. So, and that's my last $100 on that. I don't have strong feeling about this game other than I look at the line of scrimmage and I think the Rams are just much better than the Bengals at the line of scrimmage. I think that will be the difference in the game.
My last question for you: will Ben Simmons be on the Sixers the next time we record a podcast?
No.
I think they
will
make James Harden be on the Sixers?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
I like it.
Yes.
Awesome. All right.
Yes.
All right. That was my last question for you. All right. I'll give my game pick here. I'm on paper, I would go with the Rams. A huge advantage. Both sides of the line of scrimmage. They've been the more complete team. Every metric you look at would really support the Rams to win this game. I'm going to go back to the Eagles Super Bowl and say that sometimes when these franchises that have these long droughts and a starving fan base and they get there and it's unexpected, it happens in weird ways, in unexpected ways. And I'm sort of feeling it with the Bengals, with Joe Burrow, great match with the city of Cincinnati. They have a defense that will adjust in game to what's happening. They have a prolific wide receiver in Jamar Chase. And so I feel like something weird's going to happen. I'm not going to say team of destiny or anything like that, but I do feel like the Bengals can score in a hurry. And so I'm going to take the Bengals not only plus 4.5, but to win the game 27-26. Let's say the Rams have the ball driving for the game-winning field goal, 1:49 on the clock. Trey Hendrickson on a little stunt inside, sack fumble of Matthew Stafford, ices the game for the Bengals. Bengals fans celebrate their first Super Bowl victory in franchise history. So there you go. That's my prediction for the Super Bowl. Now, I will be doing a live room on Friday at noon on The Athletic. If you don't know what that is, you can go on the Athletic app on Friday at noon. You'll see the link. And it's basically just like a call-in show. So for 40 minutes, I will be there. You can call in, you can type in, and we'll talk. I'll answer questions. Don't make me be in there by myself, talking to myself. That's very awkward. So please make sure you join me for that. It'll look good with the suits, the higher ups. Maybe the New York Times will let me use their bathroom. If we do good numbers for that, we can talk Super Bowl props, Super Bowl, free agency, coaching hires, Eagles, whatever you want. So noon Eastern on Friday. Join me for that. ZB, anything else we need to get to, or can I run out to the bus stop here?
Now go pick up your daughter. Look forward to next week with Bo back. Everyone, enjoy the last week of football.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We look forward to Bo's review of this episode. For ZB, for Marissa, for Bo, for the New York Times restrooms. I am Sheil Kapadia. I'm not going to get overly sentimental or emotional, so I will just say have a nice weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Make a little lechuga, and we'll see you next week.